Semi-hollow electric guitars, in my opinion, these are some of the most versatile and unique instruments that exist. Now, of course, there are variations on that concept, and we'll see that today with the three very different models that we're going to take a look at. First being the Epiphone 1959 ES355. Then we've got the N Roll Relics Lightning, as well as the PRS SE Zach Myers model. Can't have any conversation about a semi-hollow electric guitar without something from the Gibson ES family, and this is no different here today in this Trios video. So to represent that family of semi-hollow guitars, the original semi-hollow guitars, we have an Epiphone ES355, a 1959 inspired version of this. And it is a really, really cool, just accessible version of a guitar that is, of course, kind of expensive if you get your hands on one, certainly if it's a vintage one you're getting your hands on. But the cool thing about this is that this has all sorts of Gibson custom shop lineage and literal components included in it. So if you've ever owned an Epiphone, I know I have a Les Paul, and I've thought about doing this with my Epiphone Les Pauls. You could take it and trick it out with a whole bunch of improvements. Well, you don't have to do that with this version. They've already done it for you. So let's walk through some of those specs that make this so unique. First and foremost, and probably most important, are the pickups. These are Gibson custom Bucker pickups, and if you go look at what they go for on their own, you will see why this is such a cool upgrade that Epiphone have included on this guitar. It really, really just brings the guitar into a punching way above its weight class when it comes to value, in my opinion. And then wired up to these pickups, you've got CTS pots, Mallory capacitors, and Switchcraft switches, as well as the Switchcraft output jack. So they've already upgraded all the electronics for you and brought you into that Gibson realm, which is super cool. In addition to those upgrades, you get Grover tuners and this lightweight vintage-inspired bridge from Gibson as well. Of course, the 355 was the top-of-the-line version of this style of guitar, so you get a pickguard that is reminiscent, actually exactly like what they used to put on these back in the day, as well as knobs that are inspired by that as well. So that's the aesthetic portions of it. The pickups really, really bring you into the tonal world of Gibson, which is awesome. Now, one of my favorite things about this guitar, I'm just going to admit it, is the headstock. I know some of us, myself included, get a little bit picky about the way headstock looks sometimes, and I know many of us are big fans of that Gibson open book style headstock. Guess what? It is now available on this guitar as well as a few other Epiphone guitars, but I'm just being honest with you, it's one of my favorite features of the guitar. I think aesthetically it ties it all in perfectly. And it's what this guitar deserves. This guitar has just incredible appointments from Epiphone. It's got all of the Gibson lineage, literally, that you would want in it. It's got really great construction and finish, too. I mean, it's got a solid one-piece mahogany neck, a maple block down the center. This finish is incredible. It looks and feels really, really, really nice. No complaints there. And then playability-wise, it faithfully recreates that chunky C-shape kind of 50s Gibson neck, but it is really comfortable. And I'm generally not one for a neck of this size and shape, but it's kind of growing on me, to be honest. I really, really like it. And like I said, fretwork is great. You got a Graphtec nut. I mean, again, this is kind of the Epiphone just peak, because they've upgraded everything for you. I mean, you could just put some different strings that you like better maybe than what they send on it, but that's really all you're left with to upgrade is strings, because they've taken care of everything else on this guitar And it's a really great representation of what a original electric guitar can be. Next up from Rock and Roll Relics, we have the Lightning Semi-Hollow, and this thing is super cool. Now, if the name didn't tip you off to the fact that the finishes on these guitars are incredible and they're reliced in an incredible way, then certainly seeing it up close will do that for you. Honestly, when I opened up the case, it's such a convincing and really well done relicing job that I was like, wow, this guitar has been through quite a few other people on YouTube maybe playing it, when in reality this is actually a brand new guitar and it's just that good of a relic job, which if that's your thing, I mean right there before we even get into the specs or how it sounds, it's a huge selling point. It's really, really cool, especially in person. So we'll talk a little bit about the specs on this specific guitar, but something I want to stress and point out about these Rock and Roll Relic guitars is that while they do have many of them available already built, part of the cool process and magic here is that you can actually go in and spec these out and order a custom guitar. So if this interests you, I would encourage you to check out their website, because there's a really easy to use form where you can select through all of the different specifications and finishes and just you name it, it's there, and you can kind of design your own specialty relic guitar, which is great. So most importantly on this guitar, we've got Mojo Tone Filtertron pickups. CTS pots, you've got ratio tuners from Graphtec, so tons of upgrades throughout the guitar, which is awesome, is what you'd expect from a custom level guitar. But again, the focus on this one is the striking finish. It's really, really, really cool. So this specific guitar has a mahogany and maple body. It's got a rosewood fingerboard. Let's see, it's got a 12-inch fretboard radius. It's got a 59 neck profile, Mojo Tone Filtertron pickups, this incredible relic finish, of course, CTS pots, Graphtec nut, Graphtec ratio tuners. The upgrades go on and on and on. Tone Pros Nashville Stop Till Bridge. The upgrades and options just go on and on these guitars. But again, these are what were selected for this specific guitar. If the Lightning is something you're interested in, and certainly any of the other options that they have on Rock and Roll Relics as well, just keep in mind, you can choose different specifications for all of these things if you want. That's just what this one happens to have. And I actually really like whoever spec'd this out, good job, because it's really, really cool. You get these very unique pickups with a kind of, I mean, it's traditional body shape, but then you throw in the Lightning F-holes. I mean, you really just, it's such a cool vibe that it projects both looks-wise and tone-wise. Next up is the Zach Myers SE semi-hollow guitar from Paul Reed Smith Guitars. And let's talk about the fact that this is a signature model guitar. It's the only one of the three we're talking about today that is associated with an artist. And that artist is Zach Myers. And he's from the band Shinedown. But here's where I will caution you. Do not let your perception of what Shinedown sounds like, the great band, certainly play those songs on this guitar if that's for you, but don't let it limit you as to what you think this guitar can do, because as is the theme with semi-hollow guitars in general, it's incredibly versatile. I mean, you can go from clean tone, jazz-inspired type things on this guitar all the way up to much more overdriven, high gain, rock type tones, and everything in between. Don't limit your imagination when it comes to this guitar. And certainly if you pick one up, you're going to see and hear and feel some of these things that I'm going to tell you about here that are my favorite about the guitar. First of all, and possibly most important to me, is the feel of the neck. And this is something, Paul, if you're listening, I would love to have this on every SE PRS guitar that's out there. The finish on this neck, this satin finish, is ridiculously awesome. It is so comfortable. It is so playable, and it looks great. The rest of the guitar is this high gloss finish, and it just perfectly transitions into the satin finish on this neck, which is awesome. So often that is the first point of contact you have with a guitar, grabbing a neck off of a wall in the guitar store. And if you grab one of these, you're going to notice immediately how comfortable it is. The fretwork is great. The neck shape and feel is great, but that finish is just striking right off the bat. The other thing that I love about this guitar is it uses the 24.594 inch scale from the 594 that PRS is so famous for. And if you've ever played one of those, you know that it just has a really nice slinky feel to the strings. It's just very playable, very pleasing to play. This guitar has that as well, and I'm assuming that was a specific choice that Zach Myers made when designing this guitar. So this guitar does have a mahogany body, a mahogany neck. It's got a maple cap on it with this really cool flame veneer painted with the Myers blue. One of my other favorite things just on any guitar is when the body matches the headstock in color. And another thing that really stood out to me is this bridge. It's this wraparound style bridge with the individual saddles for intonation purposes. I love the way it looks. I also love the way these function and just the feel of having your palm or the side of your hand on a bridge like this. I really enjoy. A typical 2-volume, 2-tone setup, 3-way switch. No tapping or splitting on this guitar, so just your straight up 245S pickups when it comes to the tone from this. And again, it's a little bit different than your traditional take on a semi-hollow guitar, but it's the PRS take on the semi-hollow guitars. You get the single F-hole, you get the single cutaway, and a very comfortably, feels solid, but it's not overwhelming as far as weight, which is kind of another characteristic, another benefit to a semi-hollow guitar. But just a really, really cool guitar, and I can't stress enough, don't ignore the fact that it's a Zach Myers SE guitar. Definitely embrace it, but also don't let it limit you. If you're not familiar with Zach Myers as a guitar player, doesn't matter. Pick up a guitar, see if it inspires you. I think it will. If you are familiar with Zach Myers, play to your heart's content on your favorite Shinedown songs. But again, you can do a heck of a lot more with this guitar than just play one specific style of music. And if you do choose to pick one of these up, I think you're going to be pleased with overall, just first and foremost, how this thing feels and plays is just superb when it comes to comfort, playability, and just a rock solid playing experience, as you would expect from PRS. So there you have it, 3 great representations of semi-hollow electric guitars. One of the most versatile and interesting construction types when it comes to an electric guitar. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and try to get your hands on one, if not all 3 of these guitars, because me telling you about them is great and you can hear how they sound and see how they look, but all 3 of them are incredibly pleasing playing experiences, and you have to put your hands on the guitars to really get an idea for how they go. So I would encourage you, if you happen to be in a store with any of these 3 guitars, pick them up, play them, because there's definitely something cool about each one of them. And there's definitely a player out there, maybe it's you, for each one of these styles of semi-hollow electric guitars. Hopefully this has been helpful. Until next time, once again, my name is Tom Butwin here for Premier Guitar, and I will see you very soon.